crazy, fool. You will be liable to the hell of fire. You hearing this, kids? JK. So when you are offering your gift at the altar, if you remember that your brother or sister has something against you, leave your gift there before the altar and go. First be reconciled to your brother or sister, and then come and offer your gift. Come to terms quickly with your accuser while you're on the way to court with him, or your accuser may hand you over to the judge, and the judge to the guard, and you will be thrown into prison. Truly, I tell you, you will never get out until you have paid the last penny. It is clear that for Jesus, it is more important that the attitude of my heart toward you and to the disconnect in our relationship, that is the meaning of sin. Not the particular act contained in the outline of Scripture, but my attitude, my heart toward you. It is equally clear that Jesus is more concerned we are in communion with one another than that we give our offering. Now, I should say, if you're concerned about a relationship with somebody, that doesn't mean you shouldn't give your offering today. You're welcome, Rick. It's the attitude of my heart. Justice, true justice, is where the heart is. The Old Testament scripture reading today was taken from Isaiah chapter 1. Here, as in most of the prophets throughout the Old Testament, the relationship and heart attitude is the point, not the offerings. What to me is the multitude of your sacrifices, says the Lord. I have had enough of your burnt offerings of rams and the fat of fed beasts. I do not delight in the blood of bulls or the lambs or of goats. When you come to appear before me, who asked this from your hand? Trample my courts no more. Bringing offerings is futile. Incense is an abomination to me. New moon and Sabbaths and calling of convocation. I cannot endure solemn assemblies with iniquity. In the passage I spoke about last week, Ezekiel, the sin of Sodom and Gomorrah was their acute lack of concern for the vulnerable while living in excess, and that it was their arrogance that was the abomination to God. In Isaiah, in much the same way, the abomination is offerings without justice in the land. So God speaks to Israel through Isaiah and says, let us argue it out. And I just thought, wow, that's an interesting phrase that he uses there. In the New Living Translation, it's let's settle this. As I was meditating over this passage, this phrase in verse 18 just kept coming out, and it struck me as hugely important. First, what I found remarkable here is God is inviting the Israelites to sit with God and have a conversation about what is going on. The word yakah is also used to mean decide or reprove or appoint. Yakah, let's argue it out. It is making a decision together. And God's saying this to the people. It's making a decision together about how things will be handled. What is the reality of the situation between us and how we must proceed? I think more often than not, we get hung up on all of the things that follow the so-called command, the for instance that is recommended, the details that are for that particular situation and time that we read in the Bible. Then on what the scripture is revealing about God, who God is, what is God's character, act, and being. So I did a deep dive into the Hebrew, and it was great fun because I love parsing the Hebrew, even though I don't fully comprehend it because it's not my first language, but it is fascinating to try to discern in the original language who God is, what is God trying to reveal about God's self. So the form yakach, something like that, taken in this instance is found in this way only here. Just here in the entirety of Scripture, it's only here. So the tense and nuance is called these three aspects of it. The nifal, imperfect, cohortative. So if you love language, you'll love this part. If not, bear with me. The nifal is not the active or passive, but that in-between middle voice. Okay, so it's not like, I command you, or it's not like, yeah, you can if you want, but it's that middle. And then the imperfect, the reciprocal, in the sense that it's not a command, but an expectation. It will come about, an invitation to participate in this that I'm asking you to do with me together. And the cohortative, and this is only found in first-person forms, so God is saying it personally to you, not a command, but it's more than the super passive suggestion. We could do this because God is confident that God will hold up God's end. So the whole word together then, the lakunav, nivakach, something along those lines, and you're not going to remember it anyway. So walk, go together. And it's in the sense of please now, come now, please now, come, let us walk together, go together on this journey, making things right between us. This is who God is. God invites us, expecting that we will want to do this. Not commanding us, but coming into our situation. God is not indiscriminately executing wrath on all the people who do not act according to the goodness God made us to be and do. When we do act in such a way, we feel the blowback. Because God did not make us to live other than in communion with one another. And when we are not, we feel the repercussions of it. And that is what the Bible describes. God invites us into the conversation about what is going on. God comes into our situation, into our spaces, here right now, inviting us. God moves and walks and wants to be in conversation with us. That is what this verse is telling us. Using a word that is used in this way, this form, only once.